My dearest grandson, even though I depart from this world, I know deep down that you will find someone that will care for you and love you for who you are. And with that, I will leave you with a Christmas gift that will help your future." As Mr. Robinson and I were leaving, I asked him about Irina and why she was behaving like this. As we were driving back, he began to explain to me about Irina's tragic past.
Irina was always happy on Christmas, celebrating it with her wonderful parents and boyfriend. However, that happiness turned to sadness as her parents both passed away on Christmas. They were returning home when an uncontrolled truck collided with them, and both passed away instantly. Also, she found out that her boyfriend was cheating on her. Now, when Christmas is near, she would lock herself in her room and won't come out until the next day.
That's awful. I feel for her. As we arrived at his house, he told me that he had to go and do some errands. As I entered the house, I felt bad for what happened to Irina, and I decided to invite her for a walk. "Irina, I'm sorry to bother you, but do you want to go out for a walk?" There was no answer, and I started to worry. "I know what happened in the past, and I feel sorry for what you went through. But I want to show you the true beauty of Christmas." There was still no answer, and I went to my room. As I was heading to my room, I heard a door opening and saw Irina peeking out. "If you knew what happened to me, why do you insist that Christmas is beautiful?" "For me to give you an answer, could you please get dressed and let me show you?" After hearing what I said, Irina closed the door and got dressed up. Once Irina was dressed up, Spencer took Irina to the city park, where a giant Christmas tree was decorated and the park was festive. Upon arriving at the park, Irina and I went to the games section to win some prizes. After winning a few prizes, we both walked to the Christmas tree to view its magnificent glory. I looked at Irina, and her face was filled with astonishment as she had witnessed a wonderful Christmas tree. Now you see what I mean. Christmas can be a marvelous event where you celebrate the Christmas spirit with those who love and cherish you. I understand what you've gone through, but you should move on and continue being happy. Even though your parents aren't here now, they are with you in spirit, and they will be by your side celebrating Christmas with you." After I finished saying that, Irina hugged and thanked me for my honesty. As we were going back home, suddenly, without anticipation, Irina kissed me and asked me to be her boyfriend. At first, I was caught by surprise. Then, I agreed to Irina's request to be her boyfriend, as I soon discovered that I had feelings for her. As we got back to her house, Mr. Robinson was in the kitchen preparing dinner, and they both went to the dining room. When Mr. Robinson got out of the kitchen, he was surprised to see Irina sitting at the table.
"Now, this is a surprise."
"What's for dinner, grandfather?" Mr. Robinson went back to the kitchen and brought out the food that he had prepared for dinner, and we all had a good talk as we were enjoying our meal. Mr. Robinson was thanking me for helping Irina, and Irina told Mr. Robinson about our official dating. This caught Mr. Robinson by surprise, but he accepted it as he viewed me as a perfect man to be with Irina. As we finished dinner, we heard a phone ringing, and Mr. Robinson went to answer it, while Irina and I went to clean the plates. As we both finished cleaning up, Mr. Robinson returned to the dining room to inform me of the recent upsetting news.
"Spencer, it is best for you to sit down."
At first, I was confused to what was going on, but I sat down to hear what he had to say. Then, Mr. Robinson told me something that broke my heart.
"I just received a call from the hospital that your grandmother was admitted in. I'm sorry, Spencer, but your grandmother has passed away."
After hearing the news of my grandmother's recent departure, I broke down in tears as Mr. Robinson continued to inform me about the funeral arrangements. After Mr. Robinson was done, I went to my room and went to sleep, awaiting the day to attend the funeral. On the day of my grandmother's funeral, Mr. Robinson offered to drive me to the cemetery for the funeral. I suited up and left the house to visit my grandmother. I thanked Mr. Robinson for dropping me off and told him that he could pick me up later. When I arrived at the gravesite of my grandmother, every one of my relatives showed up to the funeral, even my horrible parents. Nevertheless, the entire ceremony continued on, and everyone was sad to see my kind-hearted grandmother had passed away. When the funeral ceremony was reaching its conclusion, my grandmother's lawyer stepped up to announce her will. I looked at my awful parents, and I swear I could see dollar signs in their eyes as they were waiting to hear the will.
First, let me give my deepest condolences for your loss. I hold in my hands her will that she instructed me to read to the entire family. The lawyer began to read the will regarding how she had made wonderful memories with her family. Then, the lawyer read the portion regarding the inheritance. Regarding to the inheritance, I hand over my house and my fortune to the person who suffered neglect from his own parents. My grandson, Spencer. I was shocked and surprised that my grandmother had left me everything she had. But after hearing that I was the solo heir, my father tried to rush at me. He was intercepted by my uncle and went flying after receiving an uppercut. My mother went to see if my father was all right. Then, everyone in the family cut ties with my parents and vowed to never help them after learning what they did to me. After receiving the inheritance, I returned to Mr. Robinson's house to thank him for everything he had done and to say goodbye. Irina wanted me to stay with her, but Mr. Robinson understood why and thanked me for helping Irina. I know that leaving suddenly hurts, but I want to start a new life and become the man I dreamt of becoming. Before leaving, I assured Irina that we would meet again and be happy with each other. With that, Irina gave me one last kiss, and then I left. Years have gone by, and I've become a wealthy businessman. One day, I went for a walk at the park where the traditional Christmas celebration was being held. I was enjoying the view of the festival when I heard a familiar voice. "I see that you haven't changed, Spencer." After hearing the voice, I turned around, and it was Irina. She had grown up to be more beautiful than before. Irina told me that Mr. Robinson had passed away, leaving Irina with his inheritance. I gave my deepest condolences to her and apologized for leaving her. She was happy to see me again and jumped for a hug. Then we started walking around the park when we stumbled upon the same gate where we kissed in the past. There was mistletoe, and then we kissed. After that day, we started to go on dates. Eventually, I decided to propose to her, and she agreed. Now, we're married and expecting a baby. But the saying that goes, "the past will always haunt you," came true, as my parents were at my front door again. My parents looked fatigued and were wearing worn-out clothes. "Hello, son. How are you?"
"I'm fine. What do you two want?" "Don't be so cold. We are your beloved parents." My parents explained that after the funeral, everyone cut ties with them. Then my father was laid off from work after finding out what happened. After that, they had to borrow money from loan sharks and lost their house after putting it up as collateral. Now, they're living in the streets.
Now that you see what happened, could we live with you, or could you lend us money?
What? Are you stupid? We need you to let us live with you and give us money. Why should I let you come back into my life when you treated me like trash?
You ungrateful brat!
My father grabbed me and threatened me, but I gained the upper hand and gave him a right hook, and he went flying. Then, I told him to never return, or I'll give him a warm room in prison as a Christmas gift. They never came back. And I celebrated Christmas with a beautiful, kind wife and my baby boy.